Over the past 20 years, I've hired and fired more than 100 team members in my companies. And today I want to share with you the harsh reality of what it takes to run a business. So welcome back to another episode of #winning. We all came here. And when you run a business, you most likely are going to hire people at some point in time, unless you want to do everything yourself, in which case you will want to jump off a bridge. So I've been in business now for 20 years. And the one thing that I think I've gotten better at is having hard conversations. But it's still not easy. And in my previous business, I actually had people in that company for 2 to 3 years because I avoided having the hard conversation with them. And I knew that they weren't the right fit to continue. So if you're ever in a position where you've hired someone or a bunch of people and you're like, it's just not a right fit, listen, I get it. Like I've been there and it's not easy because you care about people, right? You know, like a lot of times what I've realized is like when we are in the position of potentially letting someone go, why it feels so hard is because we are internalizing so much of it ourselves. We think that we're doing somebody a disservice. We're going to take something from them, which is their job, for instance, and that's going to be not a great situation. But I want to give you a different perspective on this. So a client was recently asking, because we actually let 7 people go last month. And I'll tell you why I did that. But also a client was asking like, hey, do you ever worry about what people say? Because there's obviously side conversations and, why do they let people go? What's going on? That. I'm like, honestly, I don't give a shit because number one, no one has any context for what's happening inside of our business. And at the same time, we do our best to let our clients know what's going on, but also more importantly, we let our team know exactly what's going on. So anytime we've ever let someone go, I have in team meetings been very, very transparent about why this person was let go. And it comes down to 2 things, one or two or both. One, it's a violation of core values. So our 3 core values are speed is king, driven to grow, owner-led commitment. Of those 3, owner-led commitment is usually the biggest thing in the sense of people phoning it in, not really showing up to the level that we expect. And that becomes a big issue. But we've also let people go for speed is king. They just worked way too slow. We had an amazing copywriter a couple of years ago, phenomenal copywriter, but just it was so slow. And I was just like, this is so friggin' frustrating. This is not helping our business. Driven to grow, right? Someone who thinks they know it all and who is not willing to get feedback and grow and constantly learn. They think they're too cool for school. Their ego is bigger than their, how they show up. Like there's no room for on our team for that. And typically we don't really hire people like that in the first place, but sometimes, it comes up over time. So the core values are a big piece. And if you don't have core values in your business, well, that's one of the first things that we do with our mastery clients as they start to build a business beyond themselves. Because if you are hiring people without clarity around your core values, you are going to waste a significant amount of money and time hiring the wrong people. And I'll give you an example of this in a second. The second reason we let people go is because of performance. So if their performance is just not up to snuff, like it is what it is, right? Like our company, Healthpreneur, feels like a family, but I'm also very, very honest with people. It's like, hey, this is not a family. Like it feels like a family, but it's a high performance team. And in a high performance team, whether it's soccer or anything else, I talk about soccer because that was my background. The best players played, period, right? The difference in sports is that you have a bench, right? In business, there's no bench. I don't need bench warmers. I need people who are going to be A players on the field who are performing and executing at the highest level. And if we coach people up and they're not at that point over a certain amount of time, we have to part ways. Because what happens is it's not about what this is going to do to that person. It's about what this person is doing in that role to hurt the business. Now, they're not doing this on purpose. They're not trying to hurt the business, obviously. But because of their lack of performance, the business suffers. When people ask me, hey, like, are you ever concerned about, what people think about that? Like if you let a lot of people go, for me, I would rather let a lot of people go than have a lot of people on my team who should not be here in the first place. So one way to look at this is like you in life, you get what you settle for, you get what you tolerate. So if you're in a relationship, it's shit. That's like, if we think about that from a business context, you have partnered with someone like a team member who is not performing at the level you want, and you've settled for that, right? And maybe obviously you can show up as a better leader and all that stuff, right? But I'm of the opinion of like, I've been in business for too long now, like not too long, but like a long time where I just don't have time. I don't have time for subpar performance. And I can notice, like I can see it very, very quickly. So sometimes we have a very lengthy and arduous hiring process. But the difference between business and sports is in sports, you can see game tape. You can see people like players, like this is what it looks like. Like I can see your games. I can see your performance on the field or on the ice or on the court. In business, you have no visibility in the slightest other than test projects, reference checks, previous experience. But the only way you ever know is when the person's actually in the job. And then you're like, oh shit. Oh shit. Hey, we'll get back to the video in just a second, but before we do, if you're an experienced health professional who's wanting to grow your business online and you want a better, faster way to do so, and you're liking what we're all about here at Healthpreneur, click the link in the description to see if you qualify for us to help you scale your business 10 times faster without the grind and without the guesswork. Click the link below in the description and let's get back to the video. We had a director of marketing we hired last year. 1 week later, we let him go. Because once he got into the world of doing our stuff, we're like, okay, there's a very big mismatch between what we were expecting and what's actually being delivered here. So I'm a big fan of hiring slow and firing fast. I think too many people hire fast and fire slow. And just because you let someone go or multiple people go quickly or whatever, it doesn't mean you're a bad leader. Like you have to definitely look in the mirror and say, like, what am I missing here? This is something that we always do as a post-mortem, if you will, once we've let people go. It's like, what do we miss here? Right? What clarity do we have now that we didn't have previously that hopefully will allow us to hire someone that we really need moving forward? So I don't look at letting someone go as a failure. I look at it as a lesson. It's like, yes, obviously it would have been nice for this person to be here. We hired them for a reason. It didn't work out. It is what it is, right? But the reality is like you get clarity as you work with people to recognize that there are certain things that were missing or not there that you need in the role or the business. And as long as you learn from that, so the next hire is better for that role, then that's how you constantly move forward in business. But here's the thing, it's like relationships. I'm sure you've had a relationship way back in the day with someone and you think to yourself, man, there's no way I would ever be with that person now, right? Like usually you go from a relationship to a better relationship because you learn the lessons or you grow as a person. Unless obviously you repeat the same relationships over and over again, in which case you're not learning and not growing. So I don't look at it as like, hey, like in the last 2 years, we've hired and fired 6 leadership team, directors of sales, directors of marketing, director of client success. And like, you could look at that on the surface to say like, hey, like something's not right here, which could be true. But at the same time, we learned a lot and made decisions that were best for the business. And in so doing, we started to recognize that, hey, maybe some of these roles are not necessarily mandatory in our business. Are we trying to fit into this mold of this kind of hierarchical structure that people say you have to have in business? Well, what if that's not the case? So at least in our business. Anyway, so the way I look at this is you do the best you can to hire people. And this, like what I'm sharing with you here is like, it's very applicable to clients as well. Like you're going to hire and work with clients who are not going to be the best fit clients, let's say 5 years down the road. So the clients you work with now, they will most likely get better over time, right? Like you will work with clients down the road who will be better. They'll pay you more, they'll show up differently because you show up differently, right? You become a better version of yourself. And so it's okay. Like what I'm sharing with you, even if you don't have a team, is very applicable to your clients in a very similar vein. I'm not saying you have to fire your clients, although if they're pricks, then you can certainly do that. But with hiring, please understand that it's probably people are the biggest asset and the biggest liability in business, right? The reason your business will grow exponentially is because of people. The reason it's not going to grow is because of people. And the thing you have to understand is that when I say people, it starts with you. Right? You have to look at how you show up as a leader. And this is, I'm telling you, please do not be the person who points fingers and said, all these people are shit. I can't find someone good. Because if you can't find anyone good, what does that say? It means you're not the type of person who anyone wants to work with yet. You have to be better as a leader. And when you hire people and work with them, you need to be very honest with yourself about how you're showing up and coaching them, guiding them, leading them, keeping them accountable. And if you're not doing a good job, it's 100% on you. If you fire someone and it's unexpected, like they're surprised, that's on you. Like we don't do performance reviews at Healthpreneur. Like sit down twice a year, let's look at we do that on a weekly basis for the most part, in one-on-ones. And again, like if someone is let go and they're completely blindsided, 100% on me. And this has happened many times, okay? I'm not saying I'm perfect. And there also have been situations where I've said, hey, here's where things are at. This situation, performance-wise, for instance, or core value-wise, is not the standard in this company. If this doesn't get better, then your job is on the line. I just want to be very, very clear about that. Did you get that? Yes. Awesome. Cool. So then when we have the conversation about parting ways, there's no surprise. Now, what's interesting, at least in our case, is that we have, with Healthpreneur, it's probably close to 100 people, I'd say, that we've let go, which sounds like a lot over the years. But not once has there ever been a situation where someone is like, fuck you, like I'm taking you to the end of the earth to dispute this or whatever it was. Never. It's always been, thank you so much for the opportunity. I've grown so much here. Or this sucks. Yes, I understand. I'd rather be here, but I also understand why you're making this decision. I get it. It's okay. It's not ideal. So we've parted ways with pretty much everyone we ever let go, or they have left in some cases in a way that's been very amicable. And I think that says a lot for how we treat our team, how we help them develop, how we help them grow, and the expectations that we have in the company. Because we're very, very clear, like this is not, we're not a woke business. I'll put it that way. Like our job postings are very polarizing. And apparently we've had people exploit us on TikTok and just doing videos about our job postings and saying, what kind of company was this? Like Healthpreneur, like blah, blah, blah. And they're just like blowing us up and talking so much shit. And that's exactly the reason why we put that in our job postings. So what I say about that is like, I'm not looking, like in our job postings, we're like, hey, like if you're looking for a 9 to 5 punch in, punch out, this is not for you. And some people get fucking bent out of shape with that stuff. But guess what? Those are the exact people I want nothing to do with. Hey, if you love working on the weekends, this could be an interesting fit. I'm not saying you have to work on the weekends. I'm not saying you have to not take time off. But I'm saying if you're not obsessed with work, you're not working here. Okay? I'm looking for people who are obsessed. I'm looking for people who can't turn off. And a lot of people don't like that. A lot of people work-life balance, This is not the company for you. Right? If you're out there looking for, if you're looking at our job postings, I'm looking, and I share this because, again, the messaging to hire people is going to be very similar to the messaging used to hire clients. If you are very clear about the type of clients you want to work with, then your messaging needs to be very clear about that. Is it going to piss some people off? Yes, it will. Is it going to attract better quality people? You better believe it will. In fact, about 2 years ago, we put out a job posting for a client success manager, and we had someone whose name was Regina Davis. I believe that's the name from Lindsay Lohan or whoever in Mean Girls. Like that was like the fake name they used. And they submitted an application. They submitted to work with us, and it was a 2-page cover letter of like just berating us. I'm like, wow, you submitted a 2-page document talking about how like whatever unwoke this was. And I'm like, this is hilarious. So anyways, we shared that as a team and had a good laugh about it. The next day, we get the perfect applicants applying for the position. Then a couple of weeks later, this individual is hired. And so this is what I'm sharing is like, when you put messaging out there, like if it's an ad, you will get killed in the comments. Don't allow those trolls to deter you from what your truth is, because what you're not seeing are all the people that are coming through your pipeline or your funnel who resonate with that message and ultimately like agree with you. They just don't talk shit in the comments because they're actually doing something. And it's the same thing with hiring. I don't give a fuck what people say about us. They're not working in the company. They have no idea what it's like to work at Healthpreneur until they're on the inside. Right? So I don't care what people say. I don't care what they talk about. I have no control. It's just noise. All I know is that I look in the mirror and I ask myself, am I doing the best by this person? Am I creating an environment where this person can grow, where they can win, where they can have autonomy, where they can become a leader, a business owner within a business, and do work that they love? to see the impact they're making on people's lives and to allow their genius to come through? And can we pay them well and give them great opportunities? For me, and that's the environment that we're creating. And if some people need other things that are not in line with what we're doing, then that's okay. So on the front end, your messaging needs to be very clear. So you avoid hiring the wrong people to begin with. But listen, like, you never quite know until someone's in the role. And then someone's in the role. And then sometimes things don't work out. But again, it's your job to maintain the standard. And, as an example, we let a director of sales go 2 years ago because on a weekly basis, we submit weekly reports, and he failed to submit his weekly report 6 times in 3 months. Now, guess whose fault that was? Mine. Because I didn't nip that in the bud right away. It's a 5-minute process. End of week, you're the leader of a division. If you don't set the standard, what do you think everyone else is looking at? Right? In terms of respect, leading by example, etc. But again, that's on me. And that's a learning to be like, hey, you have to but again, it's like, do I really need to constantly remind someone in a leadership position to do this? No. Again, raise the bar. Cool. Knowing what I know now, what would I do differently? What are the things that I'm looking for that weren't necessarily in this individual? And so as long as I'm learning and the next hire is better, we're moving in the right direction. Now, does that mean the next hire is perfect? No, because in that case, it wasn't. It was a much better step, but there were issues there from an integrity perspective, . So we learn and we grow, right? So I'm sharing this with you because, letting people go is part of being a business owner, right? You're going to hire people, you're going to fire people, you're going to part ways. You're not going to be with everyone for the rest of their lives. All you can do is, I think, lead by example, be the change you want to see in other people, be as transparent as you possibly can with your team. Like in our monthly sync last week, we went person by person. Here's exactly why this person was let go. Again, it's nothing personal. It's just, here's the issue performance-wise. Here's how it cost our business. Here's what we expected. Here's how this wasn't showing up. So that, we want to create a feeling of safety within the team, but everyone still needs to know what happened. It wasn't like, what happened to so-and-so? It's like, oh, yeah, they were let go because of this, and this is how it cost the business. Got it, right? And again, all I can do, and this is at least the way that I've led, is I can only be as transparent as possible with my team, and it's never about throwing anyone under the bus. I just want to be honest. Like, hey, this person was here, awesome person, love working with them. It's just, there was just this, and this, and it just wasn't making sense for the business. And as the business grows, you have to do what's best for the business. Period. End of story. And I'll give you a final example, and then I'll finish with this. I was speaking with a potential client a few weeks ago, and she had a vision for where she wanted to go. And then she thought that she had someone on her team who did tech, who was kind of the same thing as what we provide for our clients. And I was like, it's not even in the same universe. Like, we're providing the pilot, airlines, flight attendants, etc. You have the mechanic. And so this individual had such a loyalty to this person, who, by the way, she was paying a percentage of her revenue to, which is crazy to begin with. And what was happening is she allowed that loyalty to keep her playing small. And she decided not to move forward with us because, whatever. So I'm sharing this with you because she made the wrong decision for her business there. What she chose was loyalty and what was safe, as opposed to what was the right decision for her business. She basically said, I'm working with a mechanic who will help me fly this plane to where I want to go. That's like metaphorically like how I'm phrasing it. But the reality is that she's going to fly the plane into the ground. So that's an example of a bad decision. Again, it doesn't matter to me. It's obviously her future and her business. But this is what I mean. Is like, sometimes you have to put personal feelings aside to do what's best for the business. Because if the business isn't here, you're not going to be making anything. You're not going to be hiring anyone. And even if you have people on the team, you will have to let all of them go because the business will have crumbled into the ground. So anyways, hopefully this is useful for you, whether you're hiring people, you have a team or not. At some point you will. And there you go. 61% of Americans are wasting their life savings away, and if you're one of them, you may not even be aware of it. I was recently doing some research and kind of putting some stuff together for a workshop I was hosting, and came across some really interesting stuff. So check this out. 61% of American adults are invested in the stock market.